Love Thank You for Saying No? Want more episodes? Short on time? We got you. We're starting a weekly drop of shorter Thank You for Saying No interviews called Rejection Reflections. Every Monday morning, we're going to release a 10-minute or less episode. These are impromptu interviews with people who have an inspiring thank you for saying no moment. That means we record these episodes anywhere and everywhere. I hope they inspire you and help you to start your week off on a positive note.
Hey everybody, it's Kenya, and this is the Thank You for Saying No podcast, where we find meaning in life's unexpected turns. Hey everybody, I'm here with Gerard Edwards from Podcast Radio. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Podcast Radio is?
Yeah, so we make radio stations full of podcasts.
Nice.
And instead of music, like music radio, the content is podcasts. It sounds like the world's most obvious idea.
Nice.
But there are a million ways you could make it, so we think our way is pretty good.
Yeah.
We hope, fingers crossed. But we've been doing it a couple of years in the UK.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to your accent, I'm aware I sound like a leprechaun.
No.
I'm hearing it as you're saying little things. I'm going, oh, I sound weird to your audience. So,
Not at all, not at all.
But we've been doing it. We did it in the UK. We're expanding to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2024, we're hoping to have like 30, 50 stations by the end of 2024, if not more. But
Yeah.
We work with podcasters. We want podcasters to have their content heard by audiences.
Yeah.
The industry struggles with people just hearing your stuff.
Yeah.
And for those listening or watching, we met in Vegas at one of these conferences, the podcast movement thing, and I see your stuff on Instagram, and I think it's so cool.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. You might see our show on Podcast Radio, so definitely check it out. And, I really was inspired by how you started the show and a little bit of the conversation we had, and I had to bring you on to these 5-minute interviews here. So what's a thank you for saying no moment that you had in your career or in your journey?
So I designed a few radio stations in London, right, which is really rare opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have said a really rare thing to do and not get paid enough, but that was what was happening too.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity. I got to design these stations. No one really gets to do it. Like a radio group does it themselves.
Yeah.
Where they bring in a marketing team.
Right.
Sachi comes in and tells you what a cool brand is. So I got to do it from scratch and had decision-making processes on it. Then I managed one of these stations for 5 years. And then one day I came in at night and I thought it was my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I was called Panda Radio.
Yeah.
In London. I know it sounds cute. It wasn't that cute. There's a load of sub stories in it, but it was like a cute station. It was fun. Yeah. And then one day, like the station, the program we used to get beamed in at night just didn't play.
Yeah.
And they were switching it off.
Oh.
And the CEO was saying, right, no one's got a job in a month and all this stuff. And I was like, I realized it was my baby. I treated it like my baby, but it was never mine.
Yeah.
And it was a slap in the face, a big no. And I made this company that afternoon. And I had no startup experience. I didn't know where you get investors from. The radio station effectively closed down, and that was my big no, I suppose. And luckily, I had a partner who supported me, a funky South American woman called Ellie, who was like, "Okay, yeah, why don't you make your own company?"
Hell yeah!
And it was we were very lucky that it's going well. And it didn't have a name for 6 months, and then I was working like 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I went and helped someone build another radio station, and I had some side hustle money. And this was like all my hours.
Yeah.
And I'd never worked so hard in my life.
Yeah.
But then that's when you like it, when it's when it's something you're passionate about. So yeah, it's an interesting story, but it's just like loads of people in media or anyone who wants to be on a microphone. You get told no a lot.
Oh yeah, and that's so cool. So your podcast radio baby came out of this no moment where your job didn't work out, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this into something, and you did.
Well, I've never told anyone this. Okay. I thought, if I get this new company right, I reckon it could pay my rent for the next 3 months if I sell it in 4 months. And now it's worth a couple of mil.
Yeah.
Hopefully more.
Yeah.
But it's because we're growing internationally. And you realize I was learning too from that moment, and I wouldn't have had that chance without getting rejected, rejection's really hard at the time. And here's the thing. So I live in startup land now, and I talk to investors, and I deal with all these people and it has nothing to do with podcasting or audio.
Right.
And it's really hard to keep going with your passion to feel like that.
Yeah.
But they always say in startups, like, oh, it's a chance to learn if, you've been rejected or just take it as a learning curve. Yeah. And people don't want to admit it, but that's really hard. You would rather succeed,
So hard. We talk about that all the time in the show. It's not easy, but finding a way to be thankful for that in the long run, so valuable.
Yeah, hindsight. Your show should be called Hindsight. I've just realized. Yeah. Hindsight. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. So listen, it's been really good chatting to you and meeting you in person
Thank
again.
you so much.
Yeah. So thank you for having me on, and we aim to feature Thank You for Saying No / Hindsight on podcast radio in the States.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Follow and subscribe to the Thank You for Saying No podcast, and you'll get every episode as soon as it's released.